Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast, where we explore the philosophies shaping our world and how they apply to the complexities of modern life. Today, we're diving into the resurgence of Stoicism, not as a relic of the past, but as a living, breathing philosophy that is quietly influencing everything from therapy to leadership, social media, and even the way we think about success. In the early 21st century, Stoicism experienced an unexpected renaissance. Initially dismissed as an austere philosophy of cold detachment, it found its way into mainstream culture as a practical guide for resilience, clarity, and control in an era defined by uncertainty. Beyond pop culture, Stoicism's influence extends into the realm of mental health. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, now one of the most widely used forms of psychotherapy, draws directly from Stoic thought. CBT's emphasis on reinterpreting negative thoughts and controlling emotional responses mirrors the teachings of Epictetus, who argued that we suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them. However, as Stoicism gains momentum, it faces criticism. Some philosophers, including Byung-Chul Han in the Burnout Society, argue that its emphasis on personal resilience can serve as an excuse for systemic inaction. Can Stoicism empower individuals to withstand hardship while also fostering meaningful engagement with societal issues? Or does it risk becoming a form of passive acceptance, a coping mechanism rather than a catalyst for change? This tension is not new. Theodor Adorno made a similar critique of existentialism, questioning whether philosophies of self-mastery ultimately reinforce rather than resist oppressive structures. What's undeniable is that in an age of uncertainty, where AI threatens job security, global instability reshapes economies, and social media distorts reality, Stoicism offers a compelling toolkit for modern survival. As Viktor Frankl, whose Man's Search for Meaning echoes Stoic resilience, once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The revival of Stoicism is not merely an intellectual curiosity, but a profound reflection of the anxieties of our time. In an era where global stress levels have reached unprecedented highs, Gallup's 2024 Global Emotions Report found that 41% of adults worldwide experience daily stress. Stoicism emerges not as a relic, but as a necessary response to an unsteady world. Across centuries, philosophy has oscillated between abstraction and action, between speculation and lived experience. Today, as the world reels from technological upheaval, economic precarity, and political fragmentation, Stoicism's return is not coincidental. It is necessary. At its heart, Stoicism is a philosophy of control, or rather the relinquishing of the illusion of control. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, writing in the midst of plague and war, observed that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wisdom, once confined to dusty volumes of antiquity, now finds resonance in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which, as highlighted in a 2023 meta-analysis published in The Lancet Psychiatry, remains the most empirically supported treatment for anxiety and depression. The core insight that suffering often stems from perception rather than circumstance binds ancient Stoic principles to modern psychological practice. Yet, psychological distress does not occur in a vacuum. The pressures of a volatile economy, the looming spectre of automation, and declining institutional trust have left many searching for a stabilizing force. Stoicism offers precisely that. A 2024 report from the World Economic Forum noted that 44% of global workers fear job displacement due to AI, a figure that has tripled since 2020. In the face of such uncertainty, Stoicism's emphasis on adaptability and internal fortitude offers more than comfort. It provides a blueprint for survival. Friedrich Nietzsche, who famously critiqued Stoicism in Beyond Good and Evil, nonetheless conceded in The Gay Science that one must develop a tragic optimism, an embrace of hardship as a condition of strength. This echoes Seneca's own assertion that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This framework aligns with modern resilience research, particularly Nassim Nicholas Taleb's concept of anti-fragility, which argues that stressors, when properly engaged, do not weaken but strengthen individuals and systems. The philosophy's return is also a reaction to the increasing fragmentation of modern life. The Pew Research Center reported in 2023 that 68% of Americans feel politically alienated, a sentiment mirrored in Europe, where trust in institutions has declined sharply since the financial crisis of 2008. This disillusionment has fueled interest in Stoicism's radical individualism, its insistence that external events are neither good nor bad, only our reactions to them shape their meaning. Yet, critics like philosopher Martha Nussbaum argue that Stoicism's rejection of emotional investment may lead to a kind of ethical solipsism, a philosophy that, in its quest for self-mastery, risks neglecting the necessity of collective action and empathy. Similarly, Byung-Chul Han in The Burnout Society warns that Stoicism's emphasis on self-sufficiency can foster a dangerous form of passivity, reinforcing rather than resisting systemic injustices. This debate extends into the realm of mortality. In a world increasingly preoccupied with longevity, where billionaires fund longevity startups and AI-driven health diagnostics promise to stave off death, Stoicism remains unshaken. It does not seek to conquer mortality, but to accept it. Epicurus, often juxtaposed against the Stoics, famously argued that death is nothing to us, a sentiment echoed in the Stoic practice of memento mori, the daily contemplation of death. This, too, aligns with modern thought. Martin Heidegger, in Being and Time, posited that an authentic life could only be achieved through an unflinching awareness of one's finitude. In this context, Stoicism's resurgence suggests not just a desire for resilience, but for clarity in a world that increasingly evades permanence. The philosophical landscape of antiquity was a battleground of competing visions, much like today's ideological divide between resilience and self-care, discipline and well-being. Stoicism, though dominant in contemporary discourse, was once merely one among many schools, vying for prominence against Epicureanism, a philosophy that in some ways mirrors modern wellness culture. Where the Stoics saw virtue as the highest good, the Epicureans sought tranquility through the minimization of suffering. In an era defined by burnout, economic instability and the pursuit of happiness, their centuries-old debate is as relevant as ever. The Epicureans, contrary to their reputation as pleasure seekers, were not hedonists in the vulgar sense. They distinguished between different types of pleasures, those that were natural and necessary, such as food and shelter, those that were natural but not necessary, like luxury and romance, and those that were neither natural nor necessary, such as status and excess. True happiness, they argued, came not from indulgence but from contentment with simple, attainable pleasures. They warned against chasing desires that could never be satisfied, recognizing that to constantly yearn for more was to invite perpetual dissatisfaction. The highest pleasure, according to Epicurus, was ataraxia, a state of untroubled serenity achieved through wisdom and moderation. Modern well-being research supports aspects of this Epicurean philosophy. A 2024 Harvard Health report revealed that individuals who prioritize low-stress lifestyles and mindfulness practices, akin to the Epicurean pursuit of tranquility, experience significantly lower levels of chronic anxiety and cardiovascular risk. This suggests that the drive to simplify life, reduce excessive ambition, and focus on attainable sources of happiness is not just a theoretical ideal, but an empirically supported path to well-being. In contrast, the Stoics saw the pursuit of pleasure, even in its most measured form, as secondary to the cultivation of virtue. The good life was not about maximizing happiness, but about aligning oneself with reason and nature. To live virtuously was not merely beneficial, it was the only truly worthwhile goal. For the Stoic, suffering was not to be avoided but embraced, for it was through struggle that one's character was forged. Unlike the Epicureans who sought refuge from the chaos of the world, the Stoics believed in active engagement with it. Their vision was one of duty and endurance, of standing firm in the face of adversity rather than retreating from it. This approach aligns with contemporary resilience psychology, which suggests that individuals who reframe hardship as a growth opportunity develop stronger coping mechanisms over time. A 2023 study in the Journal of Positive Psychology found that those who intentionally seek out challenges and view setbacks as opportunities for growth report higher life satisfaction and long-term well-being. Nassim Nicholas Taleb's concept of anti-fragility, the idea that stressors, when properly engaged, do not weaken but strengthen individuals, mirrors the Stoic belief that adversity is not a burden, but a necessary condition for self-improvement. Nowhere is the contrast between these two schools more evident than in their views on death. Epicurus famously argued that death should not be feared, for when it comes, we no longer exist to experience it. His reasoning was simple yet profound. Why fear an absence of sensation? To live in fear of death, he argued, was to squander the life one had. The Stoics, on the other hand, acknowledged death not as something to be ignored, but as a constant presence to be accepted. Memento mori, remember you must die, was not a call to despair, but a reminder to live with purpose, to act with urgency and integrity in the fleeting time allotted. This debate has continued into modern existential thought. Albert Camus, in The Myth of Sisyphus, echoes Stoicism's call to embrace the absurdity of life, arguing that meaning is not found but created through one's response to the inevitable struggle of existence. Meanwhile, Ernest Becker's The Denial of Death suggests that much of human civilization is built around repressing the fear of mortality, making the Epicurean approach to ignoring death psychologically understandable, yet, as the Stoics argue, ultimately incomplete. Neither school, however, was wholly dismissive of the other. Seneca, despite his Stoic commitments, frequently quoted Epicurus, finding value in his wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, though critical of indulgence, admired the Epicurean emphasis on self-sufficiency. Even Epictetus, who derided Epicurus as effeminate, shared with him a disdain for unnecessary fears. The interplay between these traditions highlights an important truth. No single philosophy has a monopoly on wisdom. There are lessons to be learned from both the rigorous discipline of Stoicism and the serene detachment of Epicureanism. For the entrepreneur facing constant risk, the Stoic emphasis on resilience may serve as a mental anchor. For the artist seeking serenity in a world of chaos, Epicureanism's devotion to simple pleasures may provide a more sustainable path. The resurgence of Stoicism in an age of burnout and uncertainty suggests a collective yearning for control and discipline. Yet, as modern wellness movements indicate, the pursuit of tranquility, Epicurus's ultimate goal, remains equally compelling. Whether we turn to Seneca or Epicurus, what is clear is that in an age of endless distractions and fleeting pleasures, philosophy must be lived, not merely studied. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Deeper Thinking Podcast, an audio essay read by me, Holly, your digital narrator. To learn more about the subjects covered today, check out the links in the show notes. Until next time.